Right, it's been a while since I've been on this whole YouTube thing, but today I wanted to come back and share some nuggets of knowledge, some insights in the property space. More specifically, I want to talk about something that not many property educators or just online in general I see many people talking about, and that's how to get the best price for a property when you go to sell that property on the open market. Because a lot of the education out there specifically is around how to find good deals, you know, how to go out and do deal sourcing, how to get below market value deals, get properties for the best price, how to add value effectively, how to force that uplift in value. But there's very little conversation around when you go to sell the property, how to ensure you're getting the best price for that property. Because what a lot of people don't realize is when they do comparables and they think, oh, the property is going to be worth, say, 150,000 once it's been refurbished. Well, that's not an exact science. It's not going to be exactly 150,000 pounds. And in fact, you've got to remember, and it sounds very cliche, that a property or anything is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And what many people don't realize is that different people are going to be prepared to pay different amounts for that property. Yeah, for someone it may be worth 150,000. For some people it may only be worth 140,000. For somebody who really likes that property, really wants to be on that road, their mother-in-law or their elderly mother lives the next road along and it's in the school catchment area they really want to put their kids to, it may be worth 155, 160. Point being is that the property is worth different amounts to different people, depending on the suitability, the criteria, what exactly the purchaser's desires and requirements are. And so with that, when it comes to selling the property, there is strategies, there is techniques, there is a way you can ensure you're getting the best price for the property. Now, I've been involved in property for 6-7 years now. I did my first property deal 5-6 years ago, and really, I've not always been a full-time investor. And in fact, for 3 or so years, I was an estate agent. So I was actually selling property. I was having the conversations with sellers every single day, educating them, well, pitching for their business, but also educating them on how to get the best price, because that's my obligation as an agent. If someone's instructing me to sell their property, my role is to get them the best price for their property in the shortest period of time. And throughout that journey as an agent, I'm not in this space anymore, but I've still got a lot of friends, a huge network in that community. I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time training, but also learning from some of the best in the industry. Not really the UK, because in fact, the standards of estate agency, as many people will know in the UK, is actually very poor compared to other places around the world, like Australia, for example. Australia is some of the top, best real estate agents. Same with the US. And it's no surprise in those countries and other countries similar, agents earn more money. It's more of a respected profession as such as it is to the UK, and the standards are just generally higher. So I remember having dinners with the likes of Tom Panos, Josh Fegan, some of the best trainers in Australia, and Alexander Phillips, one of the top real estate agents in Australia, consistently himself, I think him and his team, a very small team, did over $1 billion Australian dollars worth of sales in 1 year. And Alex himself was one individual, did half of that, and just some amazing lessons coming from that. And so really, if again it comes down to it, getting the best price for a property is really getting two variables right. It's getting the marketing of the property right, and it's getting the pricing strategy of the property right. And if you can execute on those two variables properly, you can get the best price for the property. Now, before I dive too much into the difference between the marketing strategy and the pricing strategy and how to effectively execute on both, well, I want to educate you about both, because it's important yourself as an investor, or even just trying to sell your own home, it's important you know how to get the best price for your home, because it means you can then have the more meaningful conversations with an agent. But it's important you know these when it comes to choosing an estate agent to represent you, to sell your property and perform that selling process for you. Yes, you can have those meaningful conversations, but you can also pick the right agent, because although when we talked about all the different kinds of buyers you can have when selling a property, there's so many different kinds of agents you're going to have. You know, you look at different airlines, there's good airlines, there's bad airlines. You go to doctors, there's some doctors that are better than others. Any industry, any profession, there are some people that are better than others, and especially in the estate agency world, the disparity between a good agent and a bad agent is quite big, and the difference between a good agent and a bad agent representing your property could be 5 to 10% of the asking price. You know, a bad agent who just wants to get the house sold quick, wants to sell it to the first buyer that comes through the door, doesn't really care what price he sells it for, just so we can move on to the next one, may really not that be incentivized to get you the best price, and may end up trying to convince you to agree an offer of £140,000, whereas an agent is like, you know what, let's get loads of buyers round, let's create some competition between buyers and drive the price up, that's incentivized, you know, maybe able to get you £150,000. And so those agents are going to charge you different fees. One agent is going to be more expensive than the other, but if that agent understands marketing, understands pricing strategies, incentivized to get you a better price, then you're going to be better off as well, because you may only pay them £2,000 or £3,000 more, but they're getting you an extra £10,000 in your asking price. And that's the biggest mistake I see a lot of property investors, and as an agent, a lot of just potential sellers, the mindset they have, that this preconceived idea that all agents are the same, and so really they just want to have the cheapest agent. But very, very, very rarely is the cheapest agent going to be the agent that's going to get you the best price. And so when it comes to getting the best price, and let's talk about marketing strategy, let's talk about pricing strategy. When it comes to marketing, this refers to how many people are going to see your property advertised. And when it comes to marketing, it's not just a case of uploading the property to Rightmove. Everyone looks at Rightmove, the phone's going to ring, someone's going to come around and buy it. It's really not that simple. Yes, you have to upload it to Rightmove and the online portals, but really you need to be looking at social media advertising. You need to be looking at how are they getting the property across to people that maybe aren't proactively thinking of selling, but if the right property popped up, they'd sell it. That's a whole other conversation I could talk for an hour on. Really, I think the best and the most low-hanging fruit, I think the best way to say it, is getting professional photography. It's getting floor plans, because actually floor plans is the second thing people look at when they go to buy a property. They look at the photos first and they look at a floor plan. And you ask most people, if they don't see a floor plan advertised for that property, they won't even bother inquiring. So floor plan, professional photography, and then just an agent that's got success in the area selling properties locally, because that means they've got a database. It means they've got hot buyers that they know they can call and they can speak to. And if you just put it on the market with maybe like Purple Bricks, one of these online agents, not to shame them at all, you know, they are very often just going to upload it. They may take nice photos, may do a floor plan, but they're not going to be proactively calling out to buyers and pushing it out. Not to say some won't, that's just my experience with agents. And then when it comes to pricing strategy, there's you've got to understand the difference between market value and the pricing strategy, because again, this is another thing most people get wrong. The market value of a property is what the agent or what the market suggests that property is worth in the current climate. And again, it's never going to be an exact figure. You can look at all the evidence in the world, you can look at comparables, you can look at price per square foot, you can look at what the property was purchased for and how much price has gone up since in the area. You can do all these methods, but reality is never going to be one exact figure. It's going to be a range. So let's say in this example again, we'll stick to a market value of £140,000 to £150,000. If an agent comes in and says the price of the property is they think the market value of the property is £150,000, that doesn't necessarily mean just put the property on Rightmove for £150,000, because really there's 3 different pricing strategies you can follow when it comes to selling that property, and there's 3 different ideas that agents will sort of advise you on. Some agents will say price it higher than what you want with the view of negotiating down. So if, let's say you want to achieve £150,000 as a seller, some agents will tell you let's put it on at £160,000, and then it gives you room to negotiate down. The problem with going too high is that then buyers are potentially comparing your property at £160,000, which is overpriced, to other properties at £160,000, which are more competitively priced. And so they look at your property and think, you know, that's too expensive. They don't bother around coming and viewing it. So you will get less viewings. And even when people do make offers, they're only going to make offers on what they think it's worth. And so let's say that's £150,000, so you come down £10,000. Reality is you're not fooling anyone by pricing too high. And in fact, you're just pricing yourself out of the market. The second option is then price it on or around market value. So that could be £150,000 with a prefix of maybe offers in the region of, or offers over £150,000, with the view that the property looks more attractive compared to other properties that have priced themselves out of the market. You're going to get more buyers come through, And when you have more buyers come through, it creates a little bit more competition. And ultimately, that's what determines how high of a price you can achieve for your property: competition. You need to create a competitive environment between buyers, because you go to an auction, you hear stories of people go to an auction, they've got a certain budget in mind, they only want to pay X amount for whether it's a property auction, an antique auction, but as soon as they start competing against other people and there's other people bidding and it's that competitive environment, that's when they end up paying more for the property or more for whatever they're purchasing. So to really create the ultimate competitive environment, this was one of the strategies that I'd follow as an agent, and I learned from some of the best agents in Australia and the US, and this is how they do it all the time, is you often price slightly below market value. You've got to be brave to do this. I've actually gone 15 to 20% below market value in some instances as an agent. You do the offers over prefix. So let's say £150,000. I would actually, if it was my property, and this is what I would do when I'd sell my properties, I'd do offers over 130, 135,000 pounds. And then suddenly when people see that property advertised, they see it super attractive, it attracts everyone, they're showing it to their friends, think, wow, that is a great deal. But what you do is you then hold the viewings off for 2 weeks. You have an open house style event, as they call it in the US and Australia. Everyone comes to view that property on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. They've got a 2-hour slot where you book the viewings back to back, or all at the same time. And the great thing is, those buyers that come into the property, they see with their own eyes how much interest is in that property. They see there's 15, 20, 30 other parties interested in that property. They're eavesdropping on the other conversations of the other families, saying, oh yeah, we really like this one, it's the best house we've seen. So when they go to ask the agent, oh, what do you think this is going to go for? How much interest in the property? The agent can say, look at how much interest there is. I don't have to tell you, look with your own eyes. Whereas with the other strategies, if it's just a one-off viewing, they're on their own, the property's £160,000 and they ask the agent, oh, is there much interest? The agent's probably going to lie and say, oh yeah, there's lots of interest, but reality is the seller, the purchasers will think, man, it's just an agent, he's just saying that to try and push us. But when they see with their own eyes there's lots of other interest, when it comes to negotiating that offer and they put in an offer, the agent can say, look, you saw how much interest there is. The offer needs to be at least £150,000, but really you need to be paying more than that in order to secure the property. And there will always be at least one, often 2 or 3 buyers that really, really want that house, and they know there's other interest. So when the agent says you need to increase your offer, they know the agent's telling them the truth, and then ultimately you find out of all the pool of buyers that have been attracted to that property in that short space of time, who are the 2 or 3 buyers that are willing to pay more than anybody else. Essentially, it's a bidding war. Not many people like the term bidding war, and the agent has to negotiate in a way that's fair, that's respectful to other parties. And often as well, this is another key point to remember, the best price doesn't necessarily mean the best buyer. Because the great thing about having multiple offers in that competitive environment is that you can then have a choice of offers. So you may have an offer of £160,000 from a purchaser that's got a chain of 2 to sell, they're buying with a big mortgage and a small deposit, and there's a risk the house is going to get downvalued. Or you could go for an offer that's maybe £5,000 lower, £155,000, but it's a cash purchaser, they're not going to get a survey, they've got no chain, they can complete an exchange in 28 days. As a property investor, if you've got finance against that property, you may want to get out of that deal, liquidate so you can put your money into your next deal. You may be better off going for the slightly low offer, the one that's £5,000 less, but it means you can get your money out 2 months quicker. There's less risk because those buyers at £160,000 may be, their chain may collapse, their buyers of their buyer's property may pull out. There's so many variables that can go wrong. So point being is, just remember this, the cheapest agent is not always the best agent. The best agent is one that's going to get you the best price by executing on a marketing strategy that presents your property in the best possible light. And a pricing strategy, you don't have to do the open house way, but a pricing strategy is going to attract the most amount of interest in the shortest period of time. And then the key is they must negotiate properly, because an agent's responsibility, their obligation to you is negotiate in the best possible way to extract the very best price out of that purchaser. That's what you're paying for, and that's what a good agent should be rewarded for. And so just remember that. And then last point, like we just discussed, is the best offer doesn't necessarily mean the best buyer. So your agent needs to vet all the offers, you need to get as much information as possible. How is that purchaser financing the property? Is it cash? If so, where is the cash? Is it liquid? Is it tied up in stocks? Is it tied up in shares? Is it overseas? If it's a mortgage, what's the deposit amount? Have they had an agreement in principle? What's the get them in front of a mortgage advisor to make sure, is that mortgage offer still valid? With this, if they're going to get a mortgage, they're going to get a survey. Is the property going to value up, or have you stretched this offer now where actually there's a risk it's going to get downvalued? Is there a chain? Is this purchaser making this offer? Is there someone purchasing their property, and where does the chain end? What agents are involved? What solicitors are involved? How far progressed is that legal process? So all of these things, if you get them right, it gives you the power as a seller at all times throughout the negotiation. You've always got the leverage. So when it comes to accepting the offer, the agent can say to the buyer, look, your offer's been accepted. There was a lot of other interest which you've seen, but now if you really want to secure this property, you need to pay for your searches, you need to instruct your solicitors, you need to get your draft contracts across straight away. Really, you've got the pressure on the buyers at all times, rather than the buyer making an offer, it gets accepted, they sit back and relax, and then it takes 3 or 4 months to push the property through the legal process. So this is a topic I could talk about literally for 90 minutes, 2 hours, even longer probably, and I do so in my paid program about this, but I just thought it's something I've not seen anyone else share. And so when it comes to selling your property, just bear in mind those key points. And really, they may mean the difference if you're getting an extra 5, 10, 15, even £50,000 on your property, depending on the price and what the property is. So thanks for watching, guys. Obviously, I'm going to share a lot more. I'm back into the whole YouTube thing now, so we're going to be uploading consistently. It's property stuff, lifestyle stuff, entrepreneur, business, whatever. So if you subscribe, comment, let me know what content you want to see, and then I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Peace.